Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Welcome to part 4 of Big Blend Radio's Excellence in Tourism series on how to put the eye back into community through a responsible tourism plan that incorporates the 8 keys of excellence. We're your hosts, Nancy J. Reed and Lisa Smith, the mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, as well as Parks and Travel magazine. You can see them both if you go to BigBlendMagazines.com. Now, today's discussion focuses on the 3rd key of excellence, which is speak with good purpose.
It's a good one.
It's a good key. It's a good key individually, in business, and also as a community. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And we've got 3 special guests joining us. All of them are world's travelers, so that's great. So we can talk about the industry side and also what it's like to be a traveler when someone does speak with good purpose or doesn't. How does that affect you? We're going to start with Bobbi DePorter. She is the Queen of Excellence. She's based in Oceanside, California. Beautiful Oceanside with that beautiful pier going out to the ocean. She is the co-founder of SuperCamp, which is the world's leading summer academic achievement program for teens and preteens. She's the president of Quantum Learning Network, and she's the author of a number of books, including The 8 Keys of Excellence, Principles to Live By, and her latest, which is Excellence in Teaching and Learning, the Quantum Learning System, which she co-authored with Barbara K. Given. And of course, she created the 8 Keys of Excellence. And she's on our show just about, I think, every month or probably a little bit more sometimes. Go to SuperCamp.com to learn more about the Summer Academic Achievement Program, and also 8keys.org to learn more about this program. It's a fabulous program for families, free for families. It's also a great program for teachers to incorporate in their schools. And again, that's the number 8, so 8keys.org. Hey, Bobbi DePorter, how are you, Queen of Excellence?
I am doing very well. Thank you very much.
Good to have you back. I know that right now it's summer, and this is your season of being completely busy because SuperCamp is in full swing, and teens and preteens, they're on campus right now going through SuperCamp training, right, which incorporates the 8 keys.
It certainly does. Yes, they're learning the 8 keys and learning how to learn, and they just have so much energy and exuberance. That's what always gets me every time I go to one of the sessions. It's like the exuberance and excitement of the students is what keeps me going.
Oh, that's cool. And
yeah, that's nice.
I've seen on Facebook that you're now meeting the teens' parents that actually were in SuperCamp a few years ago. I should say, when they were teens.
I know. This one mom came up to me and she said, I went to SuperCamp 28 years ago, and she was so excited.
That's, that's wild. That just reminds me of all my friends who, children are having children. And I'm like, how did that happen? We were just in high school together. What?
Do we have to have that talk again?
I know. But it's exciting to see that happening with SuperCamp. I want to bring our next guest on, Mr. Ralph Masengill. He is the Mr. Change Agent here at Big Blend Radio, but that's because he knows all about change. He is a change agent. He's also the author of a number of books, including Conquer, Change, and Win, an easy-to-read, fun book on the serious subject of change. He's also one of our Big Blend experts, and he's a marketing expert, a coach, an award-winning advisor, and he knows all about traveling the country and the world, and he gives seminars as well. And go to his website, conquerchangeandwin.com, which I still want to keep saying, Conquer, Change, and Wine. But you won't be whining if you conquer the change. Isn't that right? Ralph, how are you?
Well, I don't drink wine. I drink moonshine, as you know. And the only thing I have against drinking moonshine is, as you mentioned a little earlier, when I drink out of that jar, sometimes there's a solid echo, and I can't keep thinking I'm talking to somebody else.
See, now,
but they're really smart people, I could tell you that. That other person I'm talking to in my echo.
See, everybody, Ralph is from East Tennessee. I want you to know.
Oh, shucks.
East Tennessee. Good to have you back. The last time we chatted with you, you were like freezing and it was cold. You had like a cold spring. what's going on in summer? Is it nice and warm and
It's
green and
nice and warm and 93 degrees outside, and humidity is about 60%. So stay in if you can.
Wow. Okay, that's early morning hiking then in the Smokies. Yep.
Yeah.
Early morning hiking.
Yes, yes, it is. That's going to be fun when you get here. You're going to be amazed at the beauty that you see on the trails.
We can't wait. We cannot wait, and I'm glad we're coming in the fall with that humidity. Though we know all about that. Nancy and I are here in Tucson, Arizona, and we're having an epic start to a monsoon season, which is exciting for the desert. But everyone, do stay. Don't try and drive your car or apparently your train in this weather.
We need to get a canoe.
We need a canoe. That's really true. Yeah. Now, okay, so we started in Oceanside, California. We've been to East Tennessee, but now we're going to go back to Southern California to one of the best wine regions in the country, at Temecula. We have Jan Smith back on the show. Now, Jan, we first met Jan through our International Food Wine Travel Writer Association radio shows that we do every second Friday. And she's been on a couple times talking about different destinations, how to plan a multi-generational family trip, talked about the Caribbean, the ABC Islands. But besides being a travel writer and publisher of neverenough.travel.com, and I encourage people to go there, she's got a great website. She's also the founder and president of Inland Management Group, where she provides organizations and clients with professional advice in the areas of human resource management, hospitality operations, training and development, employee relations and recruitment, and she's a facilitator, a speaker, and a trainer for national and international corporate and nonprofit organizations.
Wow.
Woo. Wow, Jan.
Where'd that all come from?
I don't know. I read that.
You need a little shine, darling. Take a little shine, you'll feel better. Won't help you any, but you won't care.
I am going to tell you up on that. It's inlandmanagementgroup.com, and that's MGT for the management. So inlandmgtgroup.com. I encourage everyone to go there. Jan, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I'm doing well. Thank you. Yes.
We should be in Temecula with you. Ralph can bring his shine. Bobbi, we could go in the wine country. You know.
I know. You need to come and be my guest. It's just beautiful here. Although that we really have had some interesting weather, as you are having as well. And we had what I consider a record last Friday at 117.
Wow.
If I had had time between my workload, I would have gone out and cracked an egg. I've always wanted to do that to see if it actually works, but I think it would have not last Friday.
It does work. We have contests in Arizona.
Oh, you do?
Oatman, this little town up in the near Bullhead City. Oatman they have the frying egg contest on the 4th of July while they're wheeling people on hospital beds dressed up as ghosts and things.
Oh my goodness!
Among the local boroughs. But anyway,
the heat does take effect, and weird things happen in Oatman.
Yes, you've got to go to Oatman, everybody. It's a crazy little town.
Sounds like a place to go.
That's it. But it's great to have you on the show here.
Thank you.
I'm excited to talk about excellence and talk about tourism. And when we talk about tourism, it's about sustainable and responsible tourism, so that communities can enjoy visitors coming in and the visitors can enjoy the communities, not like the crazy stuff where you're, just not the mob tourism. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about balance.
The word is responsible.
Responsible, yes. So Bobbi, this is the thing. It all started with the 8 Keys of Excellence and, having you on shows for a number of years and your articles and us traveling, with our national park tour. Going and interviewing people about the 8 Keys of Excellence, which we still do, it became very apparent to Nancy and I that, actual communities need to adopt the 8 Keys as well as the schools. Everybody of all ages should be adopting it as a universal language is how we think about it. And so if you could give everybody an overview of the 8 Keys, what they are, so we can all just have a look at it as a personal side of it and what we can also transfer over to our families and get them into schools too.
Yes, they are a set of guiding principles to live our best self, and that we internalize them and they become our core. So it's so powerful for school students, it's for families, for businesses, for communities. There's always a shift when they make a commitment to the 8 Keys of Excellence, and it gives a common language to talk about, and people see it and they use it with each other too, of saying, hey, that really is, learning how to, that your failure leads to success, or that the values match your behavior. So they have such impact for people. So there's 8 of them, and the first is integrity, match behavior with values. Failure leads to success, learn from mistakes. Speak with good purpose, speak honestly and kindly. This is it, make the most of every moment. Commitment, make your dreams happen. Ownership, take responsibility for actions. Flexibility, be willing to do things differently. And balance, live your best life.
So we sat down, which we love these keys. Everybody, again, 8keys.org, the number 8, go, 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 and sign up. It's a free program for families. When we did the seminars, Nancy and I went, these keys of excellence, not only does it build your character, I would say your backbone but who you are. When we went and started talking to communities, we realized that it creates this foundation and a language for, shop owners, hoteliers, and then even, talking with you, Bobbi, about what's happening with the Community Alliance for Youth Success and Youth Success Week. It really shows that a true community, to have that balance, has to incorporate the children. It has to incorporate those who are working in all spheres to make this happen and to make the best community, which means it's going to be a better destination. And so we took the 8 keys and had a few nights of meetings here, Nancy, right, to come up with this. And we're like, well, we're going to get this into a community zone in regards to tourism. So we said integrity provides a sense of place. Define your community identity and showcase its positive values. The second key of excellence is failure leads to success. We say make lemonade. View negative community attributes as opportunities to enhance, improve, and enrich.
And that's really strong.
Exactly. Learn from mistakes. The key we're talking about today, speak with good purpose, be positive. Keep your community story and all communications positive. The fourth key is this is it, attention to detail. Stay focused and tuned into your community and visitor needs. The fifth key, commitment. Make your community vision happen. Take consistent positive action to maintain your community identity and to fulfill its vision. The sixth one is ownership. Be part of the solution. Take ownership of your community with positive and responsible actions. The seventh key is flexibility. Be willing to do things differently. We like this one.
We like it a lot. That's our favorite.
Recognize what's not working and be willing to change your plan of action to achieve your community goals and visions. Isn't that right, Ralph?
Yes, it is.
I knew that.
I tell you what, it is amazing to me the good that you can learn from that third key. I had read it before, but I kind of dissected it, and it is just unbelievably full of good data.
I like that. I like that. I want to close with the final key is balance. Build a sustainable and responsible community. Consider everything that's meaningful and important to your community and steadily grow with that vision. So, Bobbi, we got your check mark of okay with this.
Exactly. They apply in all kinds of situations.
It really does. And I think that, you can't have one without the other. I think, the personal one is just it's very powerful and important. And it becomes that thing where, okay, now this is what we can do as a community. We can breed this further. Bobbi, that's the thing when we talk about going into the community side. And I wanted to touch on that with the Community of Alliance of Youth Success. I know we've done a couple of shows, youth success shows on this. And feature right now, if you go to blendradioandtv.com and see our July and August issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, you'll see a nice spread of what has been happening with this nationwide model, we say also global, where communities are working together, putting youth success first over a plan to have a youth success week, which is really amazing. And I think that truly embodies what we've been talking about all these years of building that community. And then if you want to have tourism, you have to have that community foundation, but youth has to be there.
Absolutely.
Now, speak with good purpose. That ties in too, because I know that you said when you first started Community Alliance for Youth Success that as soon as you said youth is the first thing that we're looking at. This is the important thing. That kind of really helped in regards to speak with good purpose. People coming in, more people coming in, the community joining together because it's for the youth. But it kind of takes any kind of negative step away, right? When they start to look at the right principles.
Yeah, it's looking at the bigger picture, because I could have, I want my way or my opinion or this or that. But when you think about what's best for youth, and it's like, wow, we're coming together, that when people have their own initiatives and things they're doing, often ego gets in the way of conversations and such, or I want everybody to know about what I'm doing. And what we found when we're focused on this youth success, that the people that come are, what can I do? What can I give? How can I support somebody else? So somebody has an idea, let me support that idea, versus everybody saying me too or look at me type of environment. So it really has created this supportive sense of community.
I want to go to Ralph too, in regards to speak with good purpose. When you think of that, Ralph, in a community setting, I know we've had a number of conversations, radio conversations. You've written articles also in Big Blend talking about that, especially when change happens and when a community is coming together for a vision or a committee is coming together. You say that you're going to have your naysayers at some point, but you had that magic rule that I love that may keep you a little bit more on the confident side and not give into drama, basically, not allow.
Well, that's right. It's the 20-50-30 rule, and I have been using it for over 40 years, and I know at least 5 universities that teach it now, and it just works. If you'll do it correctly, it just works. And the 20-50-30 rule is explained this way: 20% of the people you're dealing with will go along with your proposal. 50%, generally speaking, of your people will be on the fence. They could go either way. They could go yay or nay. They're just undecided. And then there's the 30%. And these are the negative people. These are the people that are the resistors. And the simplicity of this rule does take some discipline, because what you do is you focus 100% of your attention on the 20% that are with you and the 50% that are undecided, and you totally and completely ignore the 30%. It works. It does require discipline, because we all want to go change minds. And we will change the minds of the 50%. And if we do focus on the 20 and 50% groups, we will have a huge majority and will not have wasted the time of the huge majority trying to convince people who will not be convinced. It's that simple, but it does require a lot of discipline, and it is not cruel, it is not bad, it is the only way to really treat 70% of the people correctly.
It's an interesting rule, because that's right. You want to go and get everybody on board, and then you end up beating your head against the wall with the 30%. And
well, you not only do that, but the 30% will antagonize the 70%, and you can have some mild chaos. You have to ignore the negative people. They absolutely must be just as if they do not exist. And if you have the fortitude to do that, you will have a very good opportunity to make the positive changes you have in mind. Works every time. Every time.
I know you're right, because I'm going to put this in animal terms, because I like animals. If you have a group of
My
horses,
dog's listening.
Yeah, I can hear that.
That's
He goes,
amazing.
Good for her.
Good timing.
Yeah. If you have horses and mules, this is how you lead the pack train. You bring the horses first, and the mules follow. If you try to take the mules first, the horses get really upset, and nobody knows what's happening, and you're probably going to get hurt. So here's how it works. You take the horses first, and the mules go, wait a minute, they're all lined up and they're going there, and there's probably food on the other side. I think maybe I want to go too. And they'll come along. What you don't do is pull them, because then they dig those heels in. That's how I think of it.
Wow. There you go.
That's a good way. That's a perfect way to do it, because you're making everybody feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. It's the flow. I know, Bobbi, that we've talked about this too before, about, the beating, because I've got quite a flat forehead now. you know
I don't believe I told that.
Sometimes, you've got to stick with the positive, and that's where Speak with Good Purpose does really come with that, where you can get into that trap of being argumentative when you could just really stick on the positive side, right, Bobbi? When it comes to...
Yes, it's the intention. I mean, if somebody's being rude and trying to get the attention, I think just ignoring them and focus on the other. And, they want attention. We had, well, this goes back to a SuperCamp, but we had one boy that was acting out a lot and always getting attention because he was trying to get attention because he was making noise. And the students got behind it. It was just like, no, we're focused on the good and going forward. And when he would act out, they would, give it zero attention. But if he engaged in some way, they just included him like everyone else. And he was so puzzled, because he couldn't disrupt things. But it was just the focus on what the positive going forward. And it puzzled him because he's so used to just getting all the attention and everybody's trying to enroll him in. And
see, that's how bullies are created. If you keep giving them that attention, that's interesting. Jan, I wanted to go with you on this as well because of what you do with Inland Management Group, because you're dealing with the human resources side of it and the hospitality side of it, and there's the internal work, right, of company dynamics, which if your company, isn't this right, if your company dynamics and the communication is off, it's going to breathe over into the visitor experience if we're talking about the hospitality and tourism world, right?
Well, I mean, absolutely. The lot of companies, especially in the hospitality industry, they don't look at the employee as a guest. They focus on the external guest, but the internal guest, that employee, if they don't have good communication, or if they don't have attention and care, if management isn't working with them as they treat that external guest, a lot of time that flows over. And, when you're trying to focus on service in the tourism industry, absolutely speaking with good purpose has so much implication. But it really starts with that employee. How are they being addressed in the morning? How are they being addressed throughout the day with their management team? What kind of conversation is going on there? What words are being used? So I think it has a far-reaching implication, really, with hospitality, this particular key. One of the things we focus on when we're training individuals up in the wineries and the restaurants and hotels and retail is to really focus on that internal guest. How are they being treated, and how are they treating each other? Because that, like I said, will extend out to the way they're going to treat that company's visitor and guest. So I think that implication is definitely there, just as far as how we're speaking to our employees.
One of the reasons we really like this key, Nancy and I, from our travels. I know the three of you have really traveled extensively, not just across the country, but around the world, is one of our pet peeves. That's speaking kindly with good purpose. No, but it's honestly one of the things that I find disappointing, and it goes back to the importance of the community building itself with integrity, the very first key of excellence, and having your sense of place and building it with the entire community and vision, and maintaining that balance. Is that when you go to a town, sometimes you just end up in a town because you're on a road trip. It's like, hey, this looks cool, let's pull it over, and maybe you walk into a restaurant, and we go, oh, what is there to see or do here? To maybe the server. It could be in the hotel. It could be anywhere, in a winery. And the answer is, oh, there's really nothing to do in this town, and you're here in the wrong time of year, and nah. And of course, in any kind of hospitality industry, that's a no-no. But you have that happen. You could go into a shop. You could go into just, maybe you're in the grocery store, and this is when there's this negative speak of community when you go in there, which tells you there's something wrong with the community. Why do people get bored in their own towns? So is that part of what you deal with, Jan? Is what are people saying to
yes, and yeah, we work really hard with Visit Temecula Valley, which is the tourism bureau, to craft a very authentic message, and we do work hard on communicating that with the tourism industry. So that very occurrence where you walk in and someone asks, when the wineries close, what else can we do? We give a message to those workers with tools, so they understand all of the things that a guest could do past winery hours, even before they open or after they open. But I think it takes a concerted effort from some agency, and in this case, in the city I live in, it's Visit Temecula Valley, because they have really crafted and invested to train the hospitality industry, the workers, on what else is going on and what we should say. And not that you wouldn't have that, because sometimes people don't all get the message, but if that's reinforced by a management team, whether it's whatever hospitality industry it is, or agency it is, everyone is kind of hearing the same message, and they're getting the information and the tools so they can communicate. And maybe that individual in the scenario you gave really doesn't do anything when they get off work. They didn't know there are other things to do. So when you educate those workers, then they can educate the guests.
And that comes with the community knowing. The whole community should be on board. That's where that unified vision has to be there.
We had some time ago a Coliseum in the city of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, which is a tourist city in the Smokies. And when we finished the Coliseum show, we would give out a brochure of what to do after the show.
Right.
And of course, we first of all mentioned all the things in our shopping center that were still going on, but then we told about all of the activities and when they closed, so folks could continue to have a good time.
So it's that putting that message forward, yeah, Nancy?
Yeah, I was just going to say that in a lot of the seminars and some of the situations we've been, one of the things that we notice is usually missing in training is the idea for the worker that it's not like a threat in order to keep your job. It's a how to make more money at your job. It is how you advance in your job. Is the idea that you do your job well, and instead of letting your personal feelings, whether or not they've been able to go out around their town and see things, is to be positive as opposed to negative, because that's what your job actually is.
We used to have a saying called "quality gets the raise."
That's a good saying. Yeah. But sometimes I find that again, it starts with the business owner and what their commitment is to number one, training, educating, enlightening the individuals on not only their own product offering, but the community offering as well. I know when I travel, I always go and ask a restaurant worker or a front desk representative, where did they go? What do they do? What's best to see? What's not too touristy? What street should I go down, to see these things? And I found that, especially in travel and outside of the United States, that people want to help. And even if there's a little bit of a language exchange there, they're proud of their place. And so I think it's maybe instilling a little bit of pride in which helps to speak well of their hospitality company. So I do still think, though, it comes with making sure people are aware of what's available and treating them well. I mean, that the owners speak kindly and they're hospitable with their own employees.
I think this is the thing is it becomes this language, and Bobbi, that's something we talk about all the time. And I just want to make this comment of having something like the 8 Keys of Excellence, be it personal and tourism side, it goes down to the personal, no matter what. It goes back to exactly what's up on the 8keys.org, because that is the internal language. You've got to learn it yourself first, and then it breeds out within your community. And it gives you something to go back to. And I think that's something to have consistency. You need something like that, Bobbi. That is what excellence is, right? So it isn't like, oh, we have to talk nice because somebody walked in the door. We should already be living that way.
Yes. And Ralph, you said quality gets the raise, and we define excellence as good qualities and high degree. So very much aligned there with what that is. So when you come in, you can feel that there is a direction towards good qualities. I mean, that's the expectation, is good quality in everything that you're doing, and you get that sense of excellence that's there. And then,
well, one of the things that we do, I think, better than some, and that is when we get ready to hire someone, we are really interested in their character and their integrity, because we found those that have high integrity and character cause the least trouble and produce the most results. They really do.
I can see
that. Wow, Bobbi. That goes into the 8 Keys, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It is. It is the character and who you are, what you stand for. People see it. You don't have to tell them. They experience it. You know when it's there. You may not be able to describe it, but when you know it's there.
Right. It's a sense of togetherness without being totally together. You're on my team, and I can just feel that.
No, shine all round.
There you go again.
Shine and wine.
Did you hear that little tinkle a minute ago? That was, I put a little ice in my jar, and I've got to the point now that this shine's not the best I've ever had, but I'm at a point where I don't care.
Well, are we going to call it the Shine and Wine Show because we've got Jan in the wine country?
There you are.
Yeah, there we go. We like that. We like that. Go ahead, Nancy.
I was going to say there's 2 sides to this Speak with Good Purpose when you're looking at tourism. One is you're the guest, you go into a country, and you want to be treated with respect, and you want to have fun, and you want people who are positive and like, yeah, go here, this is great. Oh man, go over there, that's really awesome, and you need to see this, and you want that experience. On the other end of it, what are you like as a traveler? The first time I went out and led some tours to another country, I heard the term ugly American over and over and over and over. It's like, wow, what is that? And it took me leading a tour of Americans to find out exactly what that was. And it was a case of Kenya is totally different than America. Go figure, that's why you went there, to see something different. But the criticisms of another country were rampant and loudly spoken and directly to people who didn't want to. They were welcoming and open, and they got criticized for not being what America would have done if they had gone to America. And they would have caused trouble if it was all the same. Exactly. And so there's a speak with good purpose on both sides. When you are a traveler, it is your duty, your privilege, and you should want to be a nice traveler because you're an ambassador for this country and yourself.
So everybody needs to be in the 8 keys of excellence is basically what you're saying.
Well, I mean, you go to somebody's home, you don't want to be rude.
That's right.
If you go to somebody's country as a traveler, you really don't want to be rude.
Right.
And things are going to be different, which is mind expanding. And to me, the one thing that expands your mind is traveling.
See, and this is where the flexibility key of excellence comes in, right, Bobbi?
A lot of that when you're traveling, yes.
Yeah,
it is so much about the power of the words, because if you think it doesn't matter, it does. And every word out of your mouth, Alicia Keys was talking about the power of words because being a songwriter, she's very aware of the profound impact of words. But she's also very dedicated to empower other people to make a difference in the world. And she said being able to make a difference in the world is largely due to speaking the words that come from your heart, the positive words out of your mouth and into the world. So always thinking about your words as this, I think of it as a ball of energy. It's a thing, it's there. And when it's filled with your heart and good intentions and you speak it out into the world, it really has a profound impact. And if it's on the negative side, it has a profound negative impact. So we really think about the intentions of our words.
You know what? It's a domino effect or a ripple effect. I know that if I make a mistake on one thing, now it starts to ripple through the project. If I'm in no matter what happens, it just starts.
It keeps going.
It's like, oh my gosh, here comes one thing, and then it's like no matter what you do,
off and running.
Off it starts, and it's like, no, stop the train. But that's the same thing, Once you've put out something negative, verbally or with your body language, because your body language is going to do the exact same thing. Communication is communication, but once you've put out something negative, that's why office gossip is so toxic. How many times have you sat in a little restaurant and heard everybody's stories in the town, which I honestly want to write down and put in a blog and write it. So much fun. I love that stuff, but it's like Northern Exposure, that TV show comes to life. But at the same time, if it's negative,
it's funny.
I mean, you've all traveled, you've all been through these experiences, and you could go to your local corner place and probably have some experience that, I really didn't need to hear the chef yell at the waiter, we didn't need to hear that. And I think that's the thing, that one little word, one gesture of unkindness or negativity really does spread. I mean, I've been in situations where I've gotten mad at someone and I'm like, they disrespect, not disrespect, or you trust somebody and or they didn't speak with good purpose, and then next thing you know, you don't speak with good purpose. So that's something. So Dan,
it's catching. It can be catching.
Yeah, it's catching. It's that's what I'm saying. It's like you don't want it. I don't want it. And so you've got to have this wall. So Jan, on that side, with what you work with, the different organizations, not nonprofits, as well as the hospitality industry and all the different organizations and businesses that you do. Part of Speak with Good Purpose is to train the employees and everyone to not engage in that, right? Because someone says something.
It is tough.
Yes.
And I grew up with a statement that was just it was just something I always heard growing up. And it was, "You are master of the unspoken word and slave to the spoken word." And
Ooh.
this is so true because you know, and it happens routinely, you know, in the employment area where someone is so harmed, their ego or their just fragile self is harmed because someone has said something difficult to them. It could be a customer, it could be another coworker, it could be a business owner, and you know, these things are hard to recover from for some people because they can't stop hearing that message, and that happens even, you know, as a guest. To your point, can hear things that are going on or observe things that are going on in the hospitality industry. So you know, one of the things that I learned working for the Walt Disney Company was that everything matters. Everything matters. And so you have to be looking at all sides. Who's seeing what I'm seeing? What am I, you know, are they seeing something different? Are they hearing something different? So that kind of feeling that, you know, in the hospitality industry, you're really you're on stage when you work for the hospitality industry. And if you come to work and you're unhappy because you had a flat tire and you made you late, you kind of just put that aside and you create this experience for the guests that's coming to your tourism region or your restaurant or your hotel or winery or retail shop, or maybe they're in your tour, you know, your van. It just, in the tourism industry, there's almost no room for negativity, but it does happen because people are human.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that one of the things folks forget about, and that is they really try to many times think of the right words to say, but they forget about voice tone and inflection, and then the big one, which is body language. So that's how we really communicate, is with body language and voice tone and inflection. The words are really a total of about 7% of communication for a human being. And I think that's something that we all need to really realize, because I know I forget. I don't forget so much the voice tone and inflection, but I do forget about the body language. And I used to, in my seminars, use the word yes, Y-E-S, and I would say it seven different ways with inflection, and they almost always knew what I was really saying.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, you know, from a travel perspective too, I find that body language can be taken very different in different cultures, and that's always very interesting. I don't know if all of you do this, but when I travel, I do look a little bit. I do a little research on the culture. You know, is it acceptable to give someone a hug or a handshake or point or smile at them, or you know, these body language things that you're referring to. And so tourism or travel is often interesting because we don't know how that may be received by another culture. So I always find that very interesting.
Nancy, we've had big experiences with that in Africa.
Yeah, one of the things in Africa, especially in Kenya, in certain parts, Kenyans don't look you directly in the eye as a sign of respect. They actually look down at your feet or their toes, somewhere in that range. And the people that I led on tour were, they're shady. They're going to steal things. They're going to this. They're going to that. And the first time I went, it was like, why? You know, I would bend down to look in their eyes, and then they would turn their head away. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? Because that was to them confrontational, and I had to find out and learn that.
You know, we don't have to go to another country. In our nation, there are many regions where they communicate differently.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And you have to be open to that. And the whole reason of travel, you know, is to learn something new, which means you're trying to in some way educate yourself and communicate with others, and not be judgmental about their different customs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's really what it's
When in Rome.
Yeah. And then when you decide to go to Rome and have some fun, you really have fun.
Bobbi, I know that, you know, SuperCamp is worldwide in different, you know, countries. And Kenya, I know you've worked in there, and Russia, and all these different places. So have you had to change how you teach with the 8 keys, or do they just resonate right through with the different cultures and countries?
Well, the 8 keys resonate through, but that doesn't mean to say that some of our actions offend, you know, or don't offend, because, you know, the definition of speak with good purpose is speak honestly and kindly. Our first international program was in Moscow when it was the Soviet Union, and I brought over 52 students, and they thought, oh, we are so kind to the 52 Soviet students who are also in the program, and they were just being so kind and so generous. And what we found out is that the Russian students were so offended. You know, it was like the tone of, you know, I'm better than you, make me little us, whatever it was. And the students were genuinely just saying, oh, I have so much to give, and I'm so kind. And so many of the some of the students afterwards, you know, when we got back, said, what a shift. I did not know what I didn't know, and I feel so humbled by it.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. See, that's the thing. This is what travel does. And I think if you're in the industry, it is so important to start to learn other cultures as much as you can. Jan, do you work with that, you know, when you have different, you know, with Temecula and all the different companies you work with, that, hey, you know, maybe be aware of the different cultures that may be walking through, you know, people coming from different countries walking through your door?
It is a conversation that is beginning with some of the workshops that the Tourism Bureau is conducting, because we are starting to have a good picture of the different the different traveler base here. You know, and you do need to know that, because to everyone's point, a certain gesture could be offensive. And so we are starting to kind of introduce that conversation. And it's really over the last several years when we've determined what that international travel base looks like. So I think all tourism bureaus should do that, and they should focus on that, because it's a matter of respect. And I love Mark Twain saying when he hit the quote, which is, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And I think that is so true, because you know, you have to be respectful, and it really is that speak with good purpose. That's just a matter of being so respectful to everyone. But in travel, it's more important, because you want, especially if you're traveling to somebody's region, you should take a look and see really what their culture is, and you know, what's respectful and not. Well, we may not know that, but we learn it quickly when we make the mistakes we do when we travel. We don't make those again, do we?
Well, in Tennessee, for example, there truly are 3 states in Tennessee. There's East Tennessee, West Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee, and they are all 3 very, very different areas. And they do not speak the same in Memphis as they do in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is in East Tennessee. Memphis is in West, and then you've got Nashville in Middle, and they all have their own idiosyncrasies. And it's important to know what might offend, which could be humorous in another section.
So it sounds like a very large challenge to figure out how to speak with good purpose and not be offensive. And I think it comes down personally for just to be kind and be hospitable, whether you are traveling or people are coming to you. It's to be friendly and hospitable and kind. And I think that we probably might be safe that way, especially if we are really dealing like we're discussing now with a multicultural environment. is just to be kind and gentle with our words and considerate of others and their feelings, because it could be it could be challenging to figure out wherever you're going at all times, or even in your own city or country or what have you, what might be offensive or not. So
right.
I don't know if that's helpful or not.
What could be funny or humorous in East Tennessee could be an insult in West Tennessee, and that's the truth.
That's right. Nancy, go ahead.
And I was going to say, on my travels, especially taking a tour of people to a country I'd never been to before, and having to say that I had been there before, which was really fun. And most of them were older than I was, and being just like, okay, make the best of it. I learned really first to go to somebody who was smiling and say, please help me with this. How do I do this? How do I found people to be really open and friendly when you did that. And they would say, don't do this, don't do that. And then you need to listen and remember and respect the advice and not go, well, we don't do that in the States, so I'm going to do it my way. And trying to corral a group of Americans to change attitude and how they thought about things could be really challenging, especially when you're half their age. So I was like, man, I need some wine.
Well, I applaud you for taking on that, but I'm certain you learned a lot of good life lessons from that.
Oh, it was really interesting. I did it 3 times.
Oh, you did? Okay, so it wasn't too bad that you would repeat it a couple of times.
It was fun. But it was a real eye-opener of what you thought you knew, and finding out not only what I didn't know about other people, cultures, and countries, what people who were educated in the field of those cultures didn't know.
Well, I think I want because there's difference between reading in a book and going there. Exactly, and I wanted to bring Bobbi on this because Bobbi, you speak with good purpose, is speak honestly and speak kindly. And that's what Nancy did exactly, going for help, is saying, being honest, like, help, I need this, smiling, being kind, and then listening. And listening, isn't that part of speak with good purpose, is listening?
Absolutely. And a big part of speak with good purpose too is reminding ourselves, what's the intention of our words? Is our intention to be honest? Is it to be kind? Is it to be positive? Is it to build other people up? Is it really to understand people, or to just talk about who I am and everything I know? So that intention is so important, of that people can see it again. And Ralph, of what you said, how important your tone is and when you're speaking, and if you have that and really authentically have good intentions for what you're doing, and you pause and listen to allow other people to speak, I think you're pretty safe when you do that, because people will give you some slack, I want to say, or space if it's something you don't know and you step into something. But when you have good intentions and it is to be kind and you're listening, that goes a long way.
Nancy, I think you're something. I know about stepping in something and cows. That's all I have to say on that.
Righty.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think, Nancy, your point about approach the person who's smiling. I think that smile is so universal that just resonates kindness and openness, and come to me. I'm safe. I think a smile does that. And genuine. That is one of the genuine, and that's one of the things we work on too, and is those in the hospitality industry, is just give that initial first impression with a smile. You don't even have to say anything. It's just that openness to a welcoming, kind of gesture.
Hey, it stopped a war. It stopped a war. That I can't remember what war it was. We interviewed a gentleman who wrote a book about smiling and all the impacts.
Oh gosh, I would love to read that one.
Elon Sunstar.
Yeah.
He was an amazing, incredible photographer through the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s in Hawaii and Hawaii. I'm getting to learn how to say that correctly. And I mean, his photography was for so many magazines, and all, but he talked about smiling, especially someone who was taking the photographs, and always telling smile, but he did a lot of different shoots. But he really got into communication, going to different cultures, and just communicating through that and understanding. And he was telling us about this, and it's pretty famous. I just cannot remember what war it was, and I think it was in Asia, and the troops had run out of ammunition, and here they are on the front lines, and then they just stood in a row, and I think somebody had flowers. They held flowers and smiled, and the other side just put their guns down. And I think that's pretty powerful. It's a historical thing that really happened.
Wow.
I need to Google it and read. This was like, an interview like 10 years ago, and so my brain can't handle it. But it's, I always remember the message, and I think that's something so significant that you can just through body language, that smiling, that hey, we're not going to do anything, and they were able to move forward with that. Ralph, I do want to ask you this because we're talking a lot about, speak with good purpose. The fact that we've brought in marketing and how, we're looking at the world of social media too, where speak with good purpose, companies having to handle really irate customers that just go off, And there's times in some major corporations we have to all deal with in technical sides that you just really, there's a point where you go like, I just really want to do this. We have readers and listeners, I want to do this, but you don't. And because if you enter into that zone, your life will be consumed with it, and it's not good. But
well, one of the things that we really got to keep in mind is that 80% of all great communication is listening. Now, lots of folks just don't believe that, but I believe it's absolutely true.
I agree. It is about that. And then at the same time, when we look at speak with good purpose, learn to listen, absolutely huge. Like you say, 80%. We've got everybody running out there with marketing campaigns, which, we're all in the world of that in some way. You can't be in business. You can't be in marketing a community. You can't be, nothing happens without a sale going somewhere. This is not going to happen.
If people may say, no, I'm not in marketing. I don't do any of that, but they do.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all into public relations as well.
I think
you can have the committee, you can have the agency set up to do all of that, but that's something we as individuals should do on a regular basis. And if we don't, we're missing a great opportunity to help ourselves and our company.
Well, but my thing is here that we're all going to, in the marketing world, but if you do not have the foundation, right? You go out, so a company goes off and says, okay, a destination, I'm going to do this big marketing campaign. Let's do this, put, the cart before the horse.
It takes three things before you start any marketing campaign. You must do these three things. And I can honestly say 90% of the people do not do them. One is you have to have at your fingertips or memorized a vision for this project. The second thing you have to have is a mission statement. The mission statement is how you get to your vision. And then the third is one that most folks don't do, and it is a current reality statement where we are right now. You cannot use a map if you don't know where you are at some point on that map. it's useless. But you would be totally amazed at the people who do not know what their current reality situation is, and that therefore they cannot have any kind of a good starting point.
If everybody is not on board with the mission statement, and not, that's what I'm trying to get to, is you can't invite everybody to your neighborhood if you are not invested in speaking positively about your neighborhood. Your marketing campaign, you can do all the marketing you want in the world, but when people come there to your destination and you do not have that foundation of implementing the integrity part of the 8 keys of excellence, the very first key of sense of place, and you've got to, at some point, everybody has to be on that. Well, you can have, for a restaurant, someone could come in, you could have a problem in the restaurant, maybe a fryer is out. So tonight we can only make this kind of food, but if you speak with good purpose, people will handle it. And you've marketed, hey, we have this and this and this, but if you speak with good purpose, you will manage it. If someone comes into your restaurant and you've done all this marketing and you have a bunch of rude people, your marketing went out the window. So marketing campaigns cannot work without the staff and everybody being that team of speaking with good purpose.
Yes, that's the purpose of the current reality statement. You may have to start by retraining your whole staff.
See, that's it.
And that's the first thing we ask staff when we hire them. I mean, that's the first thing I talk about is our vision, and then listen to them, to hear.
But that's rare. That is so rare. Congratulations. That's terrific.
Bobbi is the queen of excellence. See, that's she's the queen of.
It's obvious, and the I guess my definition of good public relations that I like, that you could use it for advertising as well, is the truth very well told.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Jan, isn't this a part of what you do too? Is like, get everybody on board so that your marketing campaign can work?
So as a board member with the Tourism Bureau, I just support the efforts that are going on here, and then do some of training around really, their kind of directives. And that is where this comes back to having a message about the brand. And, everybody should be on board with that. And then when they're visiting, regardless of where they're visiting, in Old Town or at our gaming, our local gaming areas, or the winery districts, there's an authenticity there because people have that same message. Message about what Temecula is about, and what there is to offer about the history of Temecula, all of those things. So I do agree with you, Ralph, that a marketing plan can be put in place, purchased and rolled out and put in place. And if you don't have those individuals, those frontline ambassadors out there speaking that same message of that marketing plan, that really does fall to the side, and all of that work has that you expected did not absorb. So it goes back to that community where we all started to talk about how it really just takes this whole community, especially with tourism, to be in looking at the same direction, like with the same glasses on. We're focusing on the same future for our community, and I think we're making good strides with that in Temecula for sure.
I love that. I love to hear that. And Temecula's had this. I remember Temecula 20 years ago, and there was some wineries out there, and then all of a sudden, and there was casinos, but there was it just started to develop, and in a really beautiful way. So it's just nice to see that growth, and also to learn the history of the wine out there. It's amazing. At the close of this, I want to ask each of you where your next destination is, and your last memorable destination that you felt good because you were treated well, you got out around, had a good time. So your next place and your most memorable, memory right now of a destination that you've been to. So let's start with you, Jan.
Well, the next place that I kind of is on the horizon for me, I think, is Spain. I'm going to be celebrating 30 years of marriage next year, and we're talking about taking a nice trip there. So we've been talking about that for years, and we'll see if that happens. And really, I just have to tell you, everywhere I go, I come away saying, that was the best experience I've ever had. And it doesn't matter if it's local or not. My most recent travel out of the country, if you will, was to the Caribbean. And I just love the people that are there. They represent the sense of hospitality, no matter where we went, no matter who we spoke to. It was just a wonderful experience. And so I would have to say that because it's just the most recent.
Right on.
Cool.
And everyone, again, keep up with Jan and her travels. Go to neverenoughtravel.com, and also her website. Her inland management group is inlandmanagementgroup.com, but management is shortened down to MGT. So inlandmgtgroup.com. And also, Ralph, okay, so where's your next destination, and where was the most memorable experience?
Well, I'm on my way to Costa Rica August 2nd.
Really? Right
for
now?
about 10 days. And we have a couple that we're friends with, and they have a beautiful second home down there. And they make the mistake every year or so of inviting us down there, and we never make the mistake of saying no.
That's awesome.
And the trips we have planned after Costa Rica in October, we're going to France, and I'm going to, with Diane, my wife, tour Normandy.
Wow.
And that whole area, we're going on a river cruise to Normandy and enjoy that area.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Ralph, that's amazing. Now, okay, so your most recent memorable experience in travel?
It would have to be when we last went to Mexico. Not the Mexico of today, but the Mexico of 10, 15 years ago, when things were safer and when things were still just as beautiful as they are today. But you could go to Mexico without any stress. And we went to Cabo 2 or 3 times and just had a ball, and it was just fabulous, and we're looking forward to making that trip again someday when it's safer.
Yeah,
we lived there.
We lived in Mexico,
and
just a little.
It is a beautiful, awesome country with great people.
The people are amazing.
And I have to say, we never felt unsafe ever.
Well, you always have to be aware, and living on the border,
Well, of course, now here with the border, and we still don't have any.
But I think there's always problems in every country. That's my way of saying I'm speaking with good purpose and standing up for my border country that we're friends with, because we do a lot of traveling. Everybody travels over here into Tucson, and our city relies heavily on Mexico, and Mexico relies on us too. So it's an interesting dynamic over here, and a little bit different, I suppose. But you do have to be aware, because there are drug cartels out there, and those things are happening. But it is about being very, very aware, and it's not as easy as before.
Yes, and those drug cartels are in Arizona and other cities and states in the U.S.
I know.
Yeah. Well, people need to stop taking them. That's all I have to say.
That would be one way to end it.
There's the solution, and I have been trying to figure that out for 15 years.
Everybody needs to stop it. Just stop it. We need to look at that. That's a whole other conversation. And that's it. That's what I love about the 8 Keys, getting into schools and getting, young adults on board with this, because I think that really helps to quell some of those problems that happen is, especially in schools. It's something that Nancy and I have witnessed with you, Bobbi, over the years, is that seeing, children standing up, growing past bullying, and finding their true core, their authentic self. And it's something that is often left off of the radar in education systems. It's get the kids to school, get them to know their math, get them to know their science, but where does that character development come in? And I think that's what's so special about the 8 Keys. And it's a reminder for all of us, of all ages, Yeah. So everybody, for Ralph's website, go to conquerchangeandwin.com. But Bobbi, where's your next destination?
Well, you say most recent such. I mean, my summer is all about university campuses, and I just came back from Stanford University, and that's such a gorgeous campus. It's just an experience. I know the students that come on the campus, they have an experience of it then. It makes it real for them of what they're doing, and it's so collegiate and beautiful. And also I discovered more about the town of Palo Alto. It's really a cute downtown with wonderful little restaurants and all kinds of things in Palo Alto that hadn't really explored. So I had a friend and got there. But then I'm headed out to the East Coast, Villanova University, for SuperCamp. But after that, I'm going to a conference in Montreal at a chateau in Montreal. So I'm looking forward to that.
Wow. Wow. So what was the most recent, though, in regards to positive experience? I know that you've been all over, but like when you come to world travel, that you were like, okay, this is really amazing. The people just really affected you when you think about good purpose.
My favorite place in the world is Bali, and that there is this positivity because they do believe that in the next reincarnation or next life, if you're very nice and speak kindly to everybody, that affects you in the next life. So my experience is that everybody speaks to you kindly and nice, and relationship is important, and listening, and it really exudes speak with good purpose to me.
I love that.
Being there, it's so beautiful.
It is part of that karma part, right? That belief system. And I want to go to Bhutan just because they have, this happiness factor that, it's like
the gross national happiness.
Yeah, that how happy are you? They focus on how happy you are. And I'd like to see countries look at that, to like how happy is your community? And look at the happy, because it's a nicer way of putting, like, instead of going, how unhappy are you? It's so much better to look at how happy are you? It's a more positive way of saying it, and working towards it. If you're in the 2 out of 10, we want to be 10 out of 10. We all want to be happy. Don't we all? That's at the end of the day. Speak with good purpose, community, youth, people traveling. That's some basics of life that are important. Everybody, again, go to supercamp.com and also 8keys.org. That's the number 8 keys. I want to thank you all for joining us. Bobbi, thank you again. I know that you're totally slammed traveling around. So we appreciate you and appreciate the 8 keys as always. Also, Ralph, thank you for joining us. Again, it's always a pleasure. And thank you for that golden rule of the 20-50-30. It's a golden rule. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It works for me, and I've never had it fail. It's fun being on this program, and it's fun handling your life with the 20-50-30 rule. I promise.
Yeah, that's it. That happiness factor.
I like it.
Thank you, Jan, for being back on the show. I'm so glad. It's so cool.
Thank you for having me back. Appreciate
Everybody, we're going to be having this as part of our features, our article features in our Parks and Travel magazine. The next one is out for August, September. So go to nationalparktraveling.com, and also for our past issues and stories and conversations on the tourism, the world of tourism excellence. And we want to thank all of you for joining us, listeners. We always appreciate you. Big Blend Radio airs Sunday through Friday. You can get the full schedule if you go to bigblendradio.com. But we always like to close with some music. So this song is from a band that likes to travel. They're called the Base Station Band, and it's off of their album Other Desert Cities. And it's called Everybody's Business because it's about business and it's about, speaking well, and it's a cool song, and it's about traveling. So check it out. It's on their album again, Other Desert Cities. You can go to their website, basestationband.com. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Here it is.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Here it is. Everybody's business.
Alejandro and Rosalinda, Alex and Rosa, to you, my friend. Opened up a hacienda, a cafe off of Highway 10. Rosa's at the register, Alex baking bread. Gives it another minute. The map said what she said. Local girl, her baby too. Highway travelers, me and you. Everybody come on in. There's always room for more. Everybody's business coming through the door. Everybody come on in. On to Phoenix after Indio. Stop for lunch, stop just to stop. Paper napkins, paper plates. Heading eastward through the western states. Check out early, off the clock. Other desert cities call. Rosa says, treat each other well. Waves her farewell. All unknowing in her eyes. Seen so many kisses, so many goodbyes. Everybody come on in. There's always room for more. Everybody's business coming through the door. Everybody come on in. Drive on from Morning Dove to Swainson's Hawk. Tap the wheel, hit your knee. No need to talk. Arizona Redtail, Mississippi Blues. Counting ones and fours and twos. Just a mirror, watch out for snakes. He's back onto the interstate. Everybody